Welcome to Wheel Women podcast. Today I'm interviewing Jackie Scully, who has gone through some rather major life changes from a health point of view and has found a love of endurance events as a consequence. I hope you find her interview incredibly inspiring.
So my name's Jackie Scully. I am what you might call an endurance tryhard, which means I spend a lot of my time getting out into the fresh air and doing all things endurance challenge, usually related to a bike. And yeah, I'm also in my, when I'm not exercising, I am a content marketing expert, and I run a content marketing business in London, which is designed to help organizations communicate with their members. I should probably add, the reason I'm an endurance tryhard is that I had my leg rebuilt in my 20s and I had breast cancer in my 30s. So as a result of those two things, I turned to exercise as a way of really trying to keep moving forward in my life. It's my life insurance policy, you might call it.
And what events have you done to date that have particularly sort of struck a chord with you on a sporting side of things?
So sporting wise, probably the biggest non-cycling one is I got married and ran the London Marathon on the same day, which was because my partner proposed to me just 3 weeks before I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So it seemed like a really good thing to do at the time. And gifting our wedding back to charity and running a marathon was probably one of the most amazing things that I've ever done. But after that, I got the bug. And so I increased the distance and the intensity of everything. So I did my first triathlon a year later, which was at Blenheim, which is the most amazing triathlon. I really loved it. And I then thought, oh, I could do a bit more. So then I did a half Ironman the year later and an ultra marathon running across the Seven Sisters, which I maybe wouldn't recommend. And then I built from there. So I did the coast to coast cycle. So I think 167 miles across a couple of days in a very, very hilly part of the Lake District, which I maybe had underestimated slightly. And I also have gone on to do, I did in 2018, I did about 2018 miles, which was mainly based on a bike as well. So lots of different endurance activities and lots of ways to try and bring people on the exercise journey with me. And I have to say, this is going to be culminating in a Guinness World Record attempt on my 40th birthday, which is to try and attempt the longest static cycling class in the world. The record currently stands at 28 hours, and I have built a team of people that are going for 29.
Cool. Say that again. Say what you're doing.
So I am going to try and break the Guinness World Record for the longest static cycling class in the world. The record stands at 28 hours and we are going for 29.
Cool. And how many people are going to be in the room for that?
So currently we have a team of 16 and it's built, I like to call it the dodgeball equivalent of trying to break a Guinness World Record. So you've got everything from myself with my hip full of metal and my rebuilt body. I've got a lady who's got my leg on both sides in her 50s, another chap in his 50s who's just he's done sort of Land's End to John O'Groats, but he wants to push himself to another level. I've got a former Olympian called Heather Fell. So I'm covering the whole kind of gamut of people, and watching them all come together has been probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever seen. So, you know, exercise is one thing when you do it yourself and it pushes you forward and you challenge yourself in a way you never thought was possible. But when you watch other people step up and do things they never thought was possible, that's pretty inspiring. So yeah, they're a great bunch and it's been really fun going on this ridiculous journey together.
And how many training rides have you done with them? Like, and how long have you been in the saddle so far that makes you think, you know, this is achievable and this is
So some of the team have done more than 12 hours. I've done lots of different 7+ hour rides. So lots of time in the saddle. And I often will get up early, get on the bike straight away, get back on the bike in the evening, do long rides at weekends. We've also had 3 community rides in a studio together. And I should say it's all being done to music. So we've got the best, it's like a cheesy wedding vibe through the whole thing. with some surprise tunes in there as well. So it's really good fun. Lots of party atmosphere, I hope. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be really hard. And I don't know, for anyone who's done a spin class, the idea of doing that and then doing it again 29 times is pretty daunting. But we have taken a lot of advice. I've spoken to lots of endurance cyclists, and you know, the aim is to keep eating, keep tricking yourself that it's not the middle of the night or 3 a.m. in the morning, and keep reminding yourself why you're there. And the truth is, it's my 40th. I'm trying to raise £40,000 for 4 amazing charities. So when it gets really tough, and I hope that's not in the second hour, I will be reminding myself of all the people that we are hoping to help as a result of getting on that spin bike.
And will you be live streaming that or anything like that, or recording snippets?
Yeah, so the Guinness World Records requires quite a lot of evidence gathering, one of which is that the whole thing needs to be filmed. So yeah, we're hoping to live stream if tech allows, and the whole thing will be recorded, every sweaty moment. And it's quite logistically complex. So for every completed hour, you get 5 minutes of rest. So we're trying to work out at the moment the perfect rest strategy. We're thinking 2 hours on, 10 minutes off, etc., and sort of maybe trying to bank a few minutes so that we can use extra time on Sunday morning when we all can't walk or are just slightly broken. But yeah, it's unlike anything I've ever done. And I thought, you know, I thought I'd never make 40. I thought, because of the breast cancer and how aggressive it was, I thought it was not a year I would ever see. So I thought, why wouldn't I try and do something that has never been done to celebrate?
I think that sounds very sensible and completely like you. Just for people listening, obviously well, not obviously, I've known Jackie for 20
years.
Yeah, just over 20 years, isn't it? And since university. And so I've been, you know, aware of what you've been going through from a distance, you know, in a very sort of, to be honest, a hands-off way, because I wasn't, you know, there, you know, day after day, but I have seen things like that in other situations. And like the braveness that you showed through that process was obviously very inspiring, and has wonderfully inspired, well, hence why you've got 15 other slightly crazy people, let's be honest, lovely as I'm sure you all are, to do this, because you have managed to inspire people. And you know, that's really, really important in all aspects of society, that we inspire people to make a stand, to do something that they believe in, to stand up against things that they don't believe in. And I'm very fortunate that Jackie is my son's godmother, so he feels that inspiration as well, which I think is wonderful for young people to know what's happening. I'm gutted we can't be there, but I'm taking on my own cycling demons that day, doing something for the first time. And but I do think it's going to be a remarkable over 29 hours.
Yeah, I think the thing is, what you said is so important, which is that, you know, we never know the impact that we have. You know, when I had my leg rebuilt, I couldn't walk up the stairs. When I had breast cancer, I had my tummy taken out and used to replace my right breast. So I was stood on a path, and I remember it because it's right by my house. I was stood on a path, and I was like, how on earth am I ever going to walk properly, you know, again? And I'm just completely out of kilter. And, you know, I'm broken basically. And I built up and I built up and I built up. And I was doing it for myself, to try and get out into the fresh air, try and give myself a reason to live, and a reason to sort of exist beyond just sitting at home and feeling miserable. And you know what? I will never forget the email that I received after the marathon wedding from a lady who said, you know, my mum had been in a wheelchair for 6 months, and she'd not got out, and we got expert physios to try and move her. And she saw you on that day, she saw what you were doing, and she heard your story, and she got up and she walked. And she said, I can't tell you what you've done for my family. And you know what? I've done a lot in my life, and that for me is probably what I would say is one of my highest achievements, because when you help other people do what they think, when they've got no hope and you give them hope, there is no greater feeling. Yeah, so that's why I do it. And yeah, if I can help inspire a few people along the way, then yeah, more's the better.
And I think people don't need to think, well, I need to go and do a 30-hour spin class. You know, it doesn't need to be that. Like, you know, we're not suggesting that you do that, but it could be just walking down the road or going for that half-mile run that you've thought was never possible, and just opening some opportunities. It might be going for a swim, you know, once a week. And the social side, I mean, you've met some, like you mentioned, people that reach out to you. You must have met some amazing people over the last,
yeah, there are, I would say, doing endurance challenge events, you meet the most incredible people. I remember there was a lady when I was doing my half Ironman, we had to get up at like 3 a.m. and get on a coach, and basically no one could open their eyes, and I just got into a seat next to a lady, turned around, and she was in her she was just about to turn 50, and she was like, I've never done this before. This is going to be exciting, isn't it? This is my 50th birthday. And I was like, oh my God, you're insane. And she was incredible. And I looked her up later, and she did a really good time as well. And I think, you know, I think sometimes we all sit within our comfort zones, and life is hard. Work is hard. Business is hard. Family is hard. You know, so actually, sometimes prioritizing ourselves is really difficult. But you know what? The search for my edges and the search for the impossible, only to find out what is possible, has taken me on some of the best journeys of my entire life. And, you know, I've stood by start lines by people who just inspire me hugely. A lady who had epilepsy and was about to run a marathon. I was, when I did Ride London, so I did the 100-mile ride through Surrey in London, when the streets are closed, which is incredible. I highly recommend it. I started off in the torrential rain with a lady, and she was just like, I've never really cycled before. I don't really know if I'm going to be able to do it. And I caught up with her later, and she did. You know, I think endurance shows us what's possible, and I think it's incredible. And I will continue looking for my edges. Maybe not a 29-hour or longer thing, maybe not any more of those, but I think I like to prove to my body that I am not the illnesses and the structural difficulties I've faced. I am more than that, and I've got bags of strength to go with it.
Yeah, I think when we're feeling low, it's very easy to go, you know what, yeah, I'm done. Let's turn the TV on, kind of thing. And it's finding those moments and going, yeah, I'm going to get on the bike. I'm going to do the training. I'm going to go for that run. I'm just going to do something, I think is so important. And yeah, you've been incredibly aspirational to watch over the years and the things that you've got up to. So, and very entertaining as well. It's always lovely to hear your stories and see what you've been up to. And I think there was one story which involved getting a little bit wet at the start of a ride when you shouldn't have got very wet. So if you don't mind sharing this little nugget.
Oh, the coast to coast cycle. I should probably apologize to my friend Fran for signing her up to that. We decided, the two of us, that it would be in my wisdom to celebrate being 5 years clear of cancer. We would do 5 big challenges, and one of those was the coast to coast cycle. And we got to Whitehaven, and I think it was about 3 p.m, and we had a good 5 hours before dark. And I said, oh, we'll easily cover the first distance to our first spot for the night. And I said, but we must do a picture by the coast to coast sign, which is this metal tall sign that's down a little slipway that looks a little bit, you know, I just thought, oh, it looks a bit greasy, but it'll be fine. No, it goes slip sliding down with bike within the first 5 minutes of the ride, and covered in algae. I broke my phone. I got all my money got wet. My bike lights died. And basically I just looked like a complete disaster. And there was an audience of about 30 men who were going off and doing the coast to coast as well. And they just said, oh, are you at the end? I went, no, I haven't even started. And everyone just thought it was hilarious, except myself. I would then say that trip was such a resilience test, because that night, so we had a puncture. We tried to fix the puncture and re-punctured the tire. And it was only by chance that this lady was walking by, and I said, well, we punctured this tire. We've only got one inner tube left, so we don't really want to risk puncturing another tire. And so she got her husband, who used to work in sort of helicopter rescue, to come and collect us in a car, take us to a bike workshop that was about to shut, and they gave us a free tube and they ferried us around for about an hour. And that chap then, bless him, complete kindness of strangers, wrote to our hotel for the night, said these two girls are coming, they're going to be absolutely exhausted, goodness knows what time they're going to arrive, and they've had this terrible day, just look after them. And so when we got there eventually, should I say in the dark, with no bike lights because they'd broken, terrified and tired and exhausted, we had this welcoming committee at the hotel. And I just, for me, that was just the most amazing thing, that somebody, a kind stranger, see two people on their bikes trying to make a difference and then goes out of their way to help them. So that whole adventure, we had 4 punches in the end, all on my bike, and Fran and I had exactly the same bike. We went up hills, we went up the biggest B road in the country apparently, and I said to my friend, I said, don't worry, at the top there is a cafe and we're going to have a lovely ice cream or whatever you want, I'm going to buy it. We got to the top of this giant hill, both exhausted, and the cafe had burnt out. We was like, oh my goodness, Jackie. And then when we got down this big hill, we started talking a little bit more, and then we had to get diverted because there was a pheasant beating season. So one of the biggest tracks towards our second and last stop was closed. So we had to go up all these big main roads. We got stuck behind a herd of cows for 45 minutes and then ended up, I think we were cycling for 17 and a half hours that day, got to the B&B in the middle of the night once our Garmin's had failed. We had no GPS tracking. We're in the middle of what looked like a moorland and we couldn't see a thing. So yeah, it was a test of resilience that I never anticipated. And I owe a lot to my friend for just cracking on and being super, super like, no, we've got this. Even at one point I said, look, why don't we get a taxi, get to the place, then come back to this spot tomorrow. So we do the full thing, but we actually get some sleep. And she was like, no, Jackie, you've told me that we have to just crack on in life and we're just going to crack on. So we arrived very, very late with a very unimpressed B&B owners. So yeah.
And sadly, your friend's never spoken to you ever again.
Well, but put it this way, she didn't put her name into the ring for the 29-hour spin. And we are at the same time, I'm trying to get as many people as possible to log their kilometers for a 40,000 kilometer goal, because that's one trip around the globe. So at the moment I've got, I think, 122 different challengers all around the world, logging their kilometers every day, which again is really exciting to see. And someone wrote to me just the other day and said, I signed up to this because I thought, Jackie wants me to. And then actually I realized that what I'm doing is carving out time for myself, doing stuff, getting out into the fresh air and doing stuff that I have never prioritized. And I'm doing it because you've helped me do it. And I just thought that's what exercise does. Exercise gets us moving. And you said something earlier that's critical, which is you don't have to run a marathon. You do not have to sign up to a 30-hour spin class. You do not have to push yourself to the limit to prove to yourself what is possible. That's what I do, but that's because I've had a really horrible health journey and I wouldn't recommend it. But actually, if you just give yourself some space to, whether it's running a 5K or going out for a cycle, or I've got my spin bike literally 2 meters to the side of me, and whenever I can around work or at the weekends, I just jump on it. And I know I will hate the thought of it. I know when I sit on it, I'll be like, oh, not again. But when I get off it, I know that I've done something for my body. And if everyone can experience that, I think it's a very good thing indeed.
And it would be lovely if people do that before they get something like cancer, and I think it was my mum got into cycling and did some challenges, luckily before she had cancer, because actually after she had it, we managed one more little challenge, not little, but 100k after she'd had cancer when she was in remission. But actually she started doing bits before, but by that stage she was in her late 50s and she'd been quite sporty all her life, but she didn't find these things until a bit later in life, I guess, once the kids have left home and you've just got that little bit, I mean, she still had a job, but a bit more time for yourself. And I think it would just be so great if younger, particularly women, could find these things early on, not just go through school, do sport at school because that's what you have to do, and you will try and find excuses not to do it because of various reasons, but actually find a genuine passion for a sport that they can continue through, because the mental health benefits, etc., the health benefits, so many things make it worthwhile. So it's great that you found it kind of later on, but let's hope that people take your story and utilize it earlier on as well.
Someone said to me once, they said, I'm really glad it happened to you. And I was like, whoa, that's quite a strong thing to say. And they said, because you've taken it and you've helped us all, you've shown a mirror up to us all and reminded us that we've got to change the way, we've got to prioritize ourselves, we've got to put our mental health forward. And we've got to think about, if you're not well, you're not qualified to look after anyone else, whoever that is. And exercise is, I think, the best medication you will ever find. And there is nothing better for me than getting up, getting out and coming back and feeling my cold nose in the winter. I love running in the winter and cycling in the winter, feel all cold, have a lovely bath, magnesium salts in the bath so that my muscles relax. And then I come out and I feel ready for whatever it is I have to face. And exercise does something that nothing else can. And you're right. I was sporty as a child, but I think it's that actually, I think the bit where you really fall down is the early 20s, when you sort of are trying to find yourself, trying to do everything for everyone else, trying to work out who you are, trying to set up your career, all of those things. Suddenly you forget that exercise, no one's building it into your life in the way that maybe you had it built in at school. And I think that was the period that they became really sedentary, and I regret it, because that was the period when, probably before my leg decided it didn't want to play ball anymore, that was the period I would have had strength, fitness, a young body. And now I'm trying to recapture that young body in an aging one that doesn't like getting up all the time and is stiff. And I know my hips are on ticking time bomb that will explode sometime, but you know what, my surgeon said, keep going until you break, and that's exactly what I intend to do.
Good. So you mentioned you've got some more plans for down the line. I mean, obviously this is a big year, turning 40. So this challenge is in a week tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I have promised many people, including my family and my husband, that I probably won't organize anything of this description again. I think, it's one thing to sit on a bike for hours and hours and hours and hours, eat peanut butter sandwiches, jelly babies and tuck biscuits, and think that, you're going to get there. But it's quite another to coordinate strangers who need to adjudicate, giant clocks, all the kit, event day prep, health and safety, studio coordination, fun bike coordination, volunteer coordination. And my husband looked at me the other day and went, I don't think this is quite as fun as you thought it might be. And I was like, no, I hear you. So I think yes to more training, yes to finding my edges, provided I don't find them next week, and I really hope I don't. And sort of yes to moving forward in whatever shape that might be. And you know what, when I was going through lockdown and working super hard and trying to navigate people on furlough, etc., just a 5k was doing my body a great deal of good. So I want to sort of recalibrate, sit on the sofa, eat lots of mince pies and mulled wine, and then think about what next. And as long as I'm moving forward, that's really all that matters.
And is Duncan doing the ride?
No, I think after asking your partner to get married and run the London Marathon the same day, I think he basically bought himself a free pass for life, which I think he's very grateful for. I think he might turn up on a fun bike, but he's never been on a spin bike before. So I think he's a little bit nervous. My parents are going to come and do a bit of spinning, not the 29 hours. My dad also ran the London Marathon with me, and he's been asking questions, and my mum keeps shooting him down and saying, nope, you're not doing any longer than an hour. So I think, yes, I think they'll all be very grateful when it's over, and that hopefully I remind myself that I'm in one piece, and that, that I'm fit enough to carry on. So,
I think it's really important we have cheerleaders.
Oh my goodness.
And I think if Duncan's Jackie's husband, if he was doing it as well, the next day would just not be a happy place in your home.
No, don't know. The day after the marathon was a bit like a massacre. Everyone didn't really speak to each other, and everyone looked a little bit broken. And I think this is going to be that on sort of steroids with the sleep deprivation factored in as well. So yeah, I guess I'm just grateful to everybody. I mean, I don't know like how many people listening to this have ever had that situation where you've got all these strangers doing stuff for you that, you know, you don't know I don't know half of the team really, and they've all turned up, they got on a bike and they've tried to change their lives and push themselves forward. And the fact that I made that possible is just still sort of blows my mind in a way, that I get all these messages, people like, I'm back on the bike, and I'm like, oh my God, you're spending 12 hours on a bike in the middle of the night and I did this to you. But yeah, I really hope we all get to the start line, and I really hope we all get to the finish. But, you know, for me, it's not really about the record. It's more about the people I've met along the way and the reinforcement to me that I need to be moving, and I need to be biking, I need to be walking and running and swimming and doing all those things, because it makes life a lot brighter.
Indeed. I think this event is just such a culmination for you. I'm really excited to see the videos when I'm in my recovery on Sunday, which won't be anywhere near as traumatic as your recovery. But I will, yes, sit on the sofa with my legs up, watching and enjoying your pain. It's going to be a remarkable day, and I have the utmost faith that you will give it absolutely your best shot. And I'm pretty sure you'll do it. I can't, knowing you, I can't, unless literally the body just falls to pieces, literally, I can't see you having, I don't think you'll have the mental issue of not being able to get through.
I think the mental resilience is one thing, but I guess the thing to say is this is a team game. So 16 people, 16 bodies, 16 toilet breaks, 16, you know, at the same time, 16 people that have to fuel appropriately, drink appropriately, manage medication, manage injuries. That's the bit, the unknown quantity. If we all get to that start line, I know that each of those team members will give it their absolute best to get to the end. But it's that, the unknown, the sort of, you know, on the day stuff, nerves, you know, we only have those rest breaks. And if we break one, the challenge is over. That said, I'm there to sit on a bike for 29 hours, record or no record. I am there to raise awareness for charity and to do my bit. And I haven't put in all this training to sort of die on a technicality in hour one. And they'll be like, oh, should we all go home now? Or I've just eaten enough food to last me for like a whole day, so I need to sit on a bike until I've burnt it off. So the record is, the class has to be a minimum of 10 people.
Okay.
So essentially, we have 16 starters. Now, the rules are quite ambiguous and they're changing all the time. But basically, 16 of us are going to be the class, rest together, cycle together, and it's the class that the adjudicators are watching. So when the class breaks, we all break. When we're back on the bike, we're all riding, and we can eat and drink on the bike, and navigate the flight of stairs that we have to navigate to go to the toilet when we have very little time. So there are going to be some interesting elements, let's just say. And people have been talking about the moral dilemma of peeing in the shower as an alternative to the 5 toilets that are available. So yes, lots of chat at the moment, mainly about bodily functions. So yeah.
It's important over 28 hours, or 29 hours, sorry, that's quite a consideration. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's not like you can just cross your legs for that long. So.
No, but if one of the 16 goes down, and I very much hope nobody does, we will carry on. The Guinness World Records have asked for like 10 named people. So I think basically, as long as we have 10 people on the bike of those 16 at any one time, I think we will apply for the record. One of the other things to say is that so we got some advice, and somebody was giving it like advice such as, you won't be able to change your own clothes later on in the process, so you need help with that. It's good to brush your teeth, to try and pretend that it's another day and trick your body into doing like little things. And then the obvious things, you know, everyone thinks that training for an endurance challenge with a spin bike is all about your legs, but actually your neck and your back and your feet, you know, it's those bits that you ignore, and your bum. I mean, goodness me, you know, chamois cream and padded cycling shorts. You don't look like a spinner when you go to spin at the moment. I've got calf compression socks, spin, you know, proper cycling shorts with padding, numbing cream, and you name it. I look like I'm about to do a race, not a spin class.
You've got to prep, you've got to know what works, haven't you, and what's going to be comfortable and all that sort of stuff. Oh, how exciting.
But what I would say to anyone out there thinking, you know, what am I going to do? I need to do some exercise. Getting on a bike, I think, and any bike. When I go home, I get on my 11-year-old bike. My 11-year-old child's bike that I bought when I was 11 with all of my savings at that point. I wanted the best bike I could ever have. It's still at home. My mum and dad service it, and I haven't gone any taller since I was 11. So I get on it every time I go home. So there is no excuse for not getting on a bike and trying to do your very best when you're on it. And I think biking is one of the most accessible things you can do.
What's going on?
Just recording something.
Oh, have I ruined it?
No, it's fine.
Do you want
You've added to it, Duncan, don't worry.
Yes, please.
I thought you were busy at work.
I am. Sorry, basically cycling, I think, is one of the most accessible things you can do. And sitting on an exercise bike, I think my exercise bike is probably the oldest exercise bike going. But you know, getting moving, it's low impact, it's great for your legs, it's particularly great for my legs, as they're full of metal. And yeah, it will give you a spring in your step that you may not otherwise find.
Can we just touch on the charities that you're supporting?
Yes.
So I think we've really talked about that.
Yeah, so we are supporting 4 charities. One is Mintridge, which sends Olympians and elite athletes into schools to help children with their mental health, their confidence, and to embed sport within their lives from a really young age, which is a part of my value base and something I'm really determined to make possible. We're also supporting Mind for mental health, NHS charities together, because we all need the NHS, and Copperfield, which is a breast cancer charity that I've supported from about 3 weeks after my diagnosis. So some great charities, some great causes, and some great reasons to get really, really sad or sore.
Indeed. And I'll put links when I upload this, I'll put links to your cause, however you prefer me to sort of spread the word, in case anybody wants to have a further look and hopefully wants to see the live stream and see what you get up to, and can follow the challenge a little bit. So and
thank you to you as well, because I think, you know, people like you are making inspiring people to get out and change their lives through exercise. And you know, the more stories we tell, the more hilarious stories we have of falling into the sea with a bike. You know, we're all every people. We're not elite, but we're trying to do our best, and we're trying to get the most out of our bodies. And you know, if we can try and do even a little bit of that, we're doing an awful lot of good for ourselves and for others, I think. So yeah,
I do agree. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
No, probably not. I don't know. All I would encourage you to do, anyone listening, is to sign up for something that terrifies you. Not really terrifies you, but whether that's, you know, a 5K walk, couch to 5K, you know, a cycle around the local area, whatever challenge it is, if you write it down and you make it possible. Like, I'd never been paddleboarding this year. I wrote a list of 40 things to do before I'm 40. One of those was climb Snowdon. One of those was do a paddle, learn something new. And I did a bar class, and one of those was paddleboarding. And I've done all 3 of those things. Probably would have done none of those things if I hadn't have written it down and committed to it. So that would be my advice to anyone not quite sure where to start. Yeah, so that's me.
Thank you, Jackie. As I said, such an amazing individual, so inspiring, and I wish her and the team absolute best of luck for their challenge at the weekend, or next weekend. I hope they have a fabulous time doing it, and that they achieve their goal and get that world record. I'll see you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye.